Fantastic. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me for another of the DigitalOcean webinars in celebration of Hacktoberfest. My name's Lorna. I'm a developer advocate for Vonage. You might know us as Nexmo. We're in the middle of a rebrand, so my mouth might say Nexmo. I'm supposed to say Vonage, and I will try to do that. I've also been an open source project contributor and maintainer for a really long time. I've seen a lot of people be contributors and grow as contributors. So I'm here today to share they're not secrets, but I do have some good tips, to share my advice for leveling up as an open source contributor. So whether this is your first kind of foray into open source or you're just looking to skill up, you're in the right place. Let's talk a little bit about Hacktoberfest. Why would you want to get involved with Hacktoberfest? Well, you might want the free t-shirt or some trees, and that's a legit reason to be here. For me, I think Hacktoberfest is all about skills. It's about improving yourself and your practice and doing some good along the way. Those skills are tech skills, so you might code in a new discipline, learn a new documentation tool, fix some framework you've never heard of before, tech skills. Hacktoberfest is also awesome for leveling up your core skills. So those are communication skills, solid Git wrangling skills, just knowing how to collaborate. We're all distributed all over the world. I would love to hear where you're from. And I would love to be able to collaborate with each of you wherever you are. And that's where those core skills come from. One big reason to get involved in Hacktoberfest is to find your next project. So Hacktoberfest is not just for October. Open source is not just for October, in the same way that a dog is not just for Christmas, right? It's fun, but it's going to be here all the time, and it's going to be something that you can make part of your life. So this talk is aiming to level you up. If you are completely new to Git and GitHub, I'm going to try and show you some pointers, give you an idea of how it works. But if you're already a committer and you're here to level up, to raise your game, you're in the right place. And that lets you be a contributor, get those changes accepted, and be part of a project's progress. I think people sometimes think that open source is really heroic and notable people doing amazing things for the good of the universe. And I don't want to rule that out, but open source is also ordinary people like you, like me, fixing one small thing on a tool that we use that's annoying us, right? It's about scratching your own itch. It's about making a big difference. And that's what open source is really made of. It's not other people, it's us. Those tools are the things we make them. And contributing and continuing to contribute and level up will enable you to contribute all the better. So, finding things to do. This is the first challenge in finding things to do is hard. So have a look at the Hacktoberfest issues tag on GitHub. And my advice is very much to follow your interests, not so much your strengths, but your interests, the things you want to know more about, the projects you want to support, the technologies you want to learn to interact with, right? Because I think this is about you as well as about, giving back or being altruistic for sure. And I appreciate that. But it's also about you, things you could learn that might not come across your path otherwise. I also strongly encourage you to choose projects that you already use or that you could use. There's no rule that says you need to be at a certain level to contribute to a big project. But the little projects really need us. There are so many small projects that could just use a little bit of cleanup, a fix on a bug that's been open for a long time. I'm a maintainer of an abandoned project. We don't really have the right I don't have the right tech knowledge really. So I coordinate the project, and it's really helpful when people drop by and just fix one thing that's been bothering them. Now, with the change to the Hacktoberfest rules, just opening your pull request is not enough, and I am super in favor of this. I think if you're going to participate in an event like this, and I know if you are here in my webinar, then you already want to be more than just opening the pull requests. You now need to get your pull requests accepted, and handily, I have some advice just for that purpose. This is about respecting maintainer time, but respecting your time as well, making your work count. So we're going to look at a few different things. And for me, there's 3 things that will get your pull request accepted. Writing good code, or it's not just code, right? We have documentation fixes. You might iron out the packaging. I have a packaging bug on a repo, a packaging bug, fix some dependencies, help with some template stuff, right? You do good tech work. You do good Git practice, which I'm going to talk a lot about today, and also good pull requests, which is completely separate from being able to write Git or offer a really good change, right? Good pull requests, separate discipline. Watch this space. Let's begin at the beginning. Please read the contributing file. Not every project has a contributing file, but if it doesn't, I sort of wonder how ready for contributors it is. So I would probably just double check before I contributed to a project that did not have a contributing file. In the contributing file, you will find out whether contributions are welcome or not. There are lots of reasons why a project might not accept contributions. For example, we publish our API, open API descriptions for all of our APIs. You can't pull request that. That comes through quite a complicated change process. We're just publishing. So check the guidelines in the contributing file. Different projects all have different processes. So some will need you to open an issue first and will not accept your pull request if you didn't. If you're going to do a lot of work on a pull request, I would always recommend opening an issue first, just to give the project a heads up and to give an obvious space for discussion. One of the big things about being a collaborator is being able to do that all over the world, all the different time zones, never meeting in person, right? Also find out if the project has other rules. For example, some use a very specific branch naming process, like the contributor covenant, or not contributor covenant, conventional commits. There we go. Has an alliteration fail there. Like the conventional commits pattern. So you would need to know that before you branch and make your changes. So just check out contributing, make sure you are ready before you start. Right, good. Next, we're going to fork. Now, I think all the instructions you've seen show you how to fork and clone, and that's cool. But do you understand what's going on? I drew a picture for my colleagues and they liked it. So I have reproduced it here for you. And we will think of the main project as being a bucket of good stuff. Maybe code, maybe docs, a website, whatever's in this repo, it's in a bucket, and I've called it upstream. And that will be the org or the top level project, the main project that you want to contribute to. In the GitHub web interface, you'll find a fork button away in the top right, and you can fork it. You will get a copy of the repo on your GitHub account. And I've called this one username. So if I fork it to my user account, I will get Lorna Jane / whatever the repo is called. So you make the fork, and those two things both exist in GitHub land. Next, you're going to clone your repo to your computer. I have a weird icon set. This is the closest thing to a computer I could find. When did you last see a computer that looked like this? Anyway, on your local machine of whatever kind, you use the code button to get the URL and clone your username repo to your local machine. Now, you are probably familiar with these steps, but there's one extra step that I would like to share with you. And it's this: add another remote. The different tools will give you this differently. I've kept everything as the Git command line, and you can look up how it works for your GUI tools. But you can add the remote of the upstream repo as a remote to your local clone. And this is really important because it lets you keep your changes in sync with the changes in the upstream branch. So unless you just, like right now, did that fork and clone step, odds on your main branch is out of date. So you need to sync back up and get your fork nice and fresh. And you can check on the GitHub web interface. You can see, my main branch is 7 commits behind upstream main. To do that, you are going to pull the changes down from the upstream remote with this git pull upstream main, and then you're going to push them back up to your remote. So the main branch might be the master branch, might be the develop branch, like whatever works for you. Bring the changes down locally and then push them back to your fork, and that's how you stay in sync. You should do this before you make a branch. The changes that you make should always be on a branch, and it should be a fresh branch that you branched from the main branch. It's really, really important that you branch, because when the main branch should always track the upstream main branch. So you do the fork, we stay in sync. New changes arrive on the upstream project because there's activity there, great. Then you need to freshen up and catch your username main branch up with upstream, but don't put any other commits here. Okay, we've covered the basics. Now we can actually do some work. So grab the main branch and make sure you know how to run the application from the source code. So often we use tools and we want to contribute to them, but you have to figure out how to get their bleeding edge, their main repo, and then run from that instead of from the installed version that you got from Brew or apt or however you install your stuff. So get the main branch, figure out how this thing actually works. Now create a branch. So I usually git checkout with -b, which both creates the branch and then switches me to it. And the feature gives your branch a meaningful name. It doesn't need to have your name in it. I get that information from which remote it came from. Tell me what the branch is about, what it does. You can put the issue number in the name as well. And of course, you already checked the contributing file. So if there's special rules for this project, you will know. Okay, make the changes that you need and think about, once you've made the changes that you need, think about what you haven't included. It's really hard to review a pull request and think about what isn't here. Like, that's a hard problem. Really good reviewers are really good at it. And you can do an impression of that by thinking about, if I was reviewing this pull request, what else would I be looking for? Make sure you've updated the tests or written a test. Added documentation. The feature's no use if people don't know it's there and don't know how to use it. Make sure your change is everything that's needed. In the first bullet point on this slide, I said, get the main branch and run the existing application. Now I'll do that again. I really don't want code that you haven't even tried to run. Also, I would love you to try to trick your code. There is a danger here that you may find bugs that existed already. That's fine. Just open an issue and try and make sure that your change is as robust as possible. I know a lot of the pull requests now will have some automated build with them. So things like the style checkers, the lint checkers, the tests do run automatically. But I would recommend you take the time to run them locally as well. Have a look, see if there's anything that you should add. At this point, if you're still here and still listening, I know that you care about doing good work and making not just contributions for bragging rights which you're entirely entitled to. I do like a bragging right. But you're also committed to doing good work and making positive, intentional change. So yay. This is the best of Hacktoberfest for sure. So we've made some changes and they're hanging about in our branch and we're going to commit them. Now, this is brilliant because you immediately tune out. You think you know how to commit changes to Git. You do. Okay. However, this is usually the tip that I share that gets the most wow from developers who were tuned in and did listen. You've made some changes. It's time to commit. And you might do this once if it's a small change or in the different steps that you took for something larger. First of all, run git status. Are the changed files the files you thought you changed? At work, we have one particular library where if you step through the execution, it steps through like compiled directories. And I always make changes there. And it's never the right place. We have a separate source directory and like a compile step. Just double check that this is working like you thought. Now, top tip, don't do git add with dot. Never do git add with dot. Do git add with -p. It stands for patch. And what will happen, all the GUI tools have an equivalent as well. So find out how this works in your tool. It will show you little diffs of all the changes that you made. Now, this is brilliant because it causes you to make eye contact with the console.log, the var dump, the fmt.print, the whatever debugging you left in your code that shouldn't be here. You have to see it to add and commit it. Now, I love this because it catches all kinds of things where I just tweaked something in another file to make it easier to look at the thing I was looking at. Oh, yeah, don't commit that. So git add with -p, you can choose what to include. So you don't need to include whole files when you work with Git. You can just choose the changes that you want, as usually by line, and only include those, which is also great. If you saw another bug while you were at it, you can fix that now and commit them to 2 different branches. You just do the add for that part when you're ready at the right time. And this is why I love Git and would never go back. Okay, run git status again. We've kind of done, are the changed files the ones I expected? We've added the changes to the files that we changed. Yes. Now you run git status a second time. This time just eyeball those untracked files, will you? I always lose the new template or the new migration piece or something. Check the untracked files, really. Now, we can save 10 minutes of this talk if you all promise to do your homework, which is go and read this article by Chris Beams. Now, this is going to be super hard to commit to because you think you know how to commit. And I went an embarrassingly long time as a quite senior engineer without really having a good handle on good commit messages, and it's a form of communication. You will never be a 10 times engineer or contributor if you do not commit message well. I don't need, and there are lots of tools to help you and they all help you in terrible ways. I do not need the name of the file that you changed because included in the commit is the change. I know what file you changed. I need to know why or what problem you were solving. Other entirely useless commit messages, fixes, typo, any commit message that you found in the dropdown in your tool because you used it before, please, no. When I was a tech lead, I used to, see these things come past, make a note. 3 weeks and 2 days later, I would rush to that engineer's desk in an apparent panic. There's a problem with the code base. Look up this commit. What will you do? Like, what is it about? Tell me everything. Of course, they look up the commit hash, the commit messages, fixes. They haven't the faintest idea what it's about because it's 3 weeks ago. Even better if it's 3 months ago, right? Don't do it. if you send me a commit message, right, it's going to be in my pull request. I am accepting your change into my project that I am going to support until the end of time. So please just package it nicely. So homework, go and read this Chris Beams post. It's really good. And the thing I love about it is better commit messages are something all of us can achieve immediately. We can all level up our game today without needing to learn any new frameworks or spend a lot of time. Just read the article and reflect when you commit. Rant over. You can push the branch to your fork now. Okay, good. I see a bunch of little mistakes often, and it ruins pull requests. And I think often the problem is you get into a pickle or a tricky situation and you don't know how to get back out again. So I am going to share 2 tips with you today for rescuing bad situations. I'm going to show you 2 things. One is when you've committed to the wrong branch, but there's nothing wrong with the commits. The other one is we've got the wrong commits or too much in the commits or they're in the wrong place or something else went wrong. Right? We're going to remove unintended content from existing commits. These are the 2 top things that go wrong. Let's start with commits on the wrong branch. It's not always the main branch, but I'm using main as my example today. Before we proceed, I would like everyone to switch back to this screen and look at the large warning icons I'm currently displaying on my slide. You will commit before you attempt anything that I am about to say. You did not come to Lorna Jane's webinar and learn that you could run git reset -- hard. You came here and you learned that you will commit before you do anything else. So always commit. There's 2 reasons for this, but the main one is if you've committed, then your work, even whatever you do with branches, your work is recoverable using a command called git ref log. Look it up afterwards. But if you don't commit, then git reset -- hard will bin everything that you have done. So if you would like to lose a couple of days worth of work, like a whole afternoon's coding, git reset -- hard is a brilliant approach to take. Otherwise, just commit first. If you're really not sure, always just make a fresh branch, commit everything to it, and switch away. You can always check that branch out again if you realize that you need to go back to something. So that's like fail safe. I just feel a bit unsure. Make a new branch, commit everything. Brilliant. In the example that I'm showing you now, I've accidentally added a couple of commits to my main branch that are not in upstream main. And remember, we don't do that. Our main branch always just follows along the upstream main branch. So we need to somehow get the main branch back to over there, pointing to the upstream main branch. And then we need to label the commits that I did add on the correct feature branch. Ready? First of all, I think we need to talk about branches. A branch is a lie in Git. It's not a branch at all. If you have a dig around in Git internals, the branches are just commit references. Imagine a big luggage label tied onto the last commit in the row. Every commit has information about its parent. So you say to Git, tell me what's on the feature branch. And Git shows you the newest commit on the feature branch, and its parent, and its parent, and its parent, and its parent. And it makes this imaginary construct and gives it you and says, that's what's on this branch. Commits are not on branches at all. And if we need to move them around, we just need to move the labels. So Git branch feature makes that feature branch there where the main branch was. Shall I go back one? This is what we had. The main branch is here. There are commits that should be here. So we're going to turn this into the feature branch and move the main branch back to be in sync with upstream main. So we make this the feature branch, make those commits on that branch, and move our branch name main back to match upstream main. And that's with the git reset -- hard. You can give any commit reference you like here. This is so you can have just like a commit reference. You can do head to throw everything away and go back to the last commit. You can do a tag name, a branch name, or as I have here, a remote with a branch name. Awesome. I can see a question in chat, which is what about remote tracking? I'm sorry, Prajit, I see your question, but I don't have enough context. Could you type me some more words and I will come back and answer when I can. All right, commit includes too much. This is one that I am definitely guilty of as well. So you made a change, or you branched from the wrong place, or something happened, or you committed too much in one of your commits, maybe by using git add with -p. Just to repeat, never use git add with -p. No. Never use git add with dot. It will make you into a fool. Always use git add with -p, and then you just choose stuff and you realize if something shouldn't be included. However, the world is not ideal and sometimes we make mistakes. So if you get into this situation, that is fine, and I will show you what to do. You are going to move the feature branch label back to where the main branch label is, but we're not going to make any changes on the file system. So git reset -- hard that you just saw changes both the state of your Git index and your file system. You literally go back in time. This git reset -- soft leaves your file system alone and only moves the branch label back to an earlier commit. So this is a commit hash. Nested in the brackets is a command called git merge base, which finds the last commit that these two branches or labels or whatever have in common. So it's always the place where your branch that you're currently checked out to branched off main. It's the last commit in common. So we move the git pointer back. We don't change your file system. If you committed too much or branched from the wrong place or whatever it is, you can make your branch and make your commits and do your git add with patch and get everything to look exactly like you want it to. This can be really helpful. If you've got one commit that shouldn't be there, you can interactively rebase. But if you have commits that have too much in, then you need this tip. So I thought I would share it with you today. Okay, let's see. I think we're there. Open the pull request. The code, and it might not be code, it might be other useful things that we keep in GitHub. There are loads of really good websites and content and things in GitHub. But my point stands, the code is not the hard part. The pull request is the important part. The pull request is why you're here in Hacktoberfest, learning to contribute, to collaborate with others, to level up the way that you do that. So you need to get this part right. And for me, this part is what makes or breaks a pull request. This is what gives me instant accept. This is great. I love it. Merge it now. Thank that person. I don't know, feature them on the daily Vonage stream, whatever. And it's all in the pull request. And again, it's something we can all get better at without needing any sort of postgraduate education in any advanced science. So open the pull request. First of all, if you're using GitHub, scroll down. It shows you the diff. Just check that the diff looks like you think it should. It's always a good sanity check. The title is where a really special skill comes in. I want you to think about the audience for the work that you're doing. It's a maintainer. And maybe this project maintainer has a full-time job, has more than one job, maybe is really pushed for time, maybe has a lot going on, maybe has a baby in one hand. Like, that is your audience. These are real people with real lives who are doing this because they believe it's important. And they don't necessarily have time or energy to spend on understanding. Like, they shouldn't have to work at understanding what this is. So your title needs to tell me very clearly what's in this pull request, and it needs to stand out in a list of titles. In the description, say what this is, and if you want to get merged early, tell me why it's awesome. Tell me which bug it fixes. Tell me why this feature is life-changing for a particular class of user. If there's an issue that it's related to, make sure you include the fixes issue reference syntax, right? Use the description to tell me what this is and why I care. Because remember, I work 2 jobs and I'm holding a baby, right? Think about that. If there's a pull request template, use the pull request template. Because if you get to here and you can't be bothered to fill in the template, as a maintainer, I immediately worry what else you couldn't be bothered to do. Could you not be bothered to run the tests or not be bothered to write robust code? Did you not bother to check the documentation first? Did you not look for alternative solutions? Use the pull request template. It's there because I need it to be. Fill it out to the best of your ability. I mean, not every pull request fits the pull request template perfectly, but no pull request template will typically get your pull request. Like on my personal hobby projects, I will just close. I mean, at work, I'm paid to be polite to people, right? And I will encourage further discussion and descriptions. But if you are aiming to be a better contributor and you want your pull request accepted for Hacktoberfest, you're going to use the pull request template. More information is more, right? Communicate thoroughly, communicate well. Don't be afraid to think about what you want to say, make some bullet points, and then you can try to summarize that so it's digestible. We're not all writers. We're not all native speakers. It doesn't matter. But just try and tell me why your work is amazing, because it helps both of us to understand where we're coming from. See it through. Try and get all the way to the end. So check that you're getting notifications from GitHub so that if I need to get back in touch with you about your pull request, I can do that and try to respond. You do not need to respond within the hour. That's not the expectation for either contributors or maintainers on most projects. But do respond if you get comments or questions, and if changes are requested, please make the changes. It's part of the pull request process. It's not like you make it and ship it and that's done. It's not done. It's done when it's merged and when it's released. So you need to stick with us. It's collaboration, right? So we have two-way discussion or requests for changes or extra bits and pieces. Try to get all the way to the end. And I think this part of collaborating with other developers on other projects, maybe using new skills, is a really excellent way to learn so many things. Most of my software development experience, at least in the early days, came through open source projects, through working with other people, through solving problems. I think it's a fantastic way to work. And this stage is really, really important. Participating in Hacktoberfest gives you bragging rights. Yes, awesome. T-shirt, trees, whatever. It gives you skills. And I want you to think about, after Hacktoberfest, what will you do with your skills? Will you use them for good? Is this the beginning of your open source journey? I've been doing this kind of thing since before Hacktoberfest was a thing, maybe since before GitHub was a thing, and it has been incredibly, incredibly rewarding. It has brought me friends and skills and employment and experiences and obviously amazing software to use. It's been incredible, and I just want to kind of bless all of you with the same luck and experience that I've had participating in stuff like this, even in tiny pieces, little pockets of time. Yes, this is about Hacktoberfest, it's about October, there are clear goals. But when you've skilled up, when you've leveled up, when you're really an open source contributor, will you use that force for good? And I hope that you will. Okay, so I am going to put up a slide of resources and talk about them, and you can type your questions now. I see a couple of questions in chat. If you have other questions that you would like me to talk about while I am standing here, you should start typing now, because having to ask questions by text takes a little while. Okay, so the resources here are obviously the Hacktoberfest homepage. You can find out about all the events that are going on, the other webinars, There's links to GitHub issues that you can get started with, a bunch of great content, and also the Hacktoberfest Discord if you would like to talk to other people doing the same thing, maintainers of the same thing, and so on. The second link is the Vonage developer portal, obviously still branded Nexmo, because this stuff is much harder than you'd imagine. So check out developer.nexmo.com/Hacktoberfest. My team and I are doing a bunch of events, and they're rotating. They're every Tuesday, and they're rotating through the time zones. It's the Americas time zones today. And I think then we're doing APAC, Middle East, and Europe on the different weeks. So you can catch me and my team at those events. We're also on Twitch every day. We are hanging out in the Hacktoberfest channel. We have lots of projects tagged with Hacktoberfest. So if you would like to work with me on my projects and get my pull request reviews or my lovely colleagues, then that is the place to go, developer.nexmo.com/Hacktoberfest. Obviously github.com, and you can just use the search to find Hacktoberfest things. Try is:/issue, and you should find things. And finally, the blog post from Chris about the Git commit, how to write a good commit message. I think he has the hilarious XKCD about, now my hands are typing words. So check that out. It's an easy way to raise your game, and it's incredibly valuable. Especially if you need to come back and look at what happened in the past. Right, let me try and take some questions from the chat. I can see Ben Ramsey is here and answering some questions. So probably do what Ben said. The question came in from Pradjit. Thanks, Pradjit. What I was trying to say was someone else made changes to the same file in the same branch as I did, but our code is different, and when I push it, it denies my push. So then what I would do there is I would do git, when you do, so you can't push, you probably can't pull either, or it prompts you to do a merge. So you should do git pull -- rebase, and that will bring their changes and put your changes on top. You might still get a conflict, but it'll prompt you with a merge if that's the case. So you can clean that up. I hope that helps. I also hope that's what Ben wrote, because it's probably fine. Let's see. Fernando says that Hacktoberfest is an amazing experience. Hey, we're only a week in, everybody. It's amazing already, and it's going to be even more amazing over time. Cool. We have got, let me see. Questions, tips for first-time committers. Yes, I think begin. Try and find something that you understand the issue, and that's the best place to start. If you get partway through and you get stuck or you need some help, feel free to open that pull request and mark it as draft and just comment. Most projects will be happy to dive in and help you. If not, choose another project. Really good, welcoming, supportive, amazing projects exist. They're not all like that. Different projects have different motivations because they serve different audiences. So that's how that works. You should always go ahead and commit your changes, says Ben. Yeah, always branch and commit. And I think that would be helpful. Now, a question here from Roweda regarding opening issues before the pull request. How to know that no one else is working to fix the issue so that I can start working on it. I would just comment and say that I was working on it. Always check the pull request queue in case someone's made the change and it just hasn't been merged yet, so the issue's still open. Check the pull request queue, comment on the pull request, comment on the issue, excuse me, and go ahead. I think as long as you're a recent commenter, people will mostly just let you get on with it. Let's see. Did you mention that docs are a good way to start out as well? I hope I did, but I'm going to say it again anyway. Thank you, Matheson. Docs are a really good way to start out. I am intending to do more than one docs contribution this Hacktoberfest for projects that I use that have issues open asking for updates to documentation. This can just be a step too far for especially sole maintainers who have a lot going on. So there's one where there is no usage documentation. And it's a command line tool that's kind of a bit of built-in help. It's not very good. So it'd be amazing to have just some documentation, some examples, so that people can adopt the tool and get started. I claim that because the majority of pull requests on the internet are code and such a small proportion are documentation, then the documentation pull requests are much more rare and therefore they're more valuable. Documentation contributions allow you, I mean, I'm a tech writer by trade, sometimes engineer, tech writer, developer relations, all of those things. When you have a tool that doesn't have documentation, no one can use it. So you might feel like it's not the most advanced contribution you could make, but do you know, it might be the most valuable because it can make a really big difference. Cool. Keep typing your questions. I think I'm getting there. Have I scrolled all the way down? Yes. Brilliant. Kamari asked, tips for first-time contributors. Yes. Find something you care about and just try. Don't worry about, I mean, the imposter syndrome is real and I get it. But the code doesn't care. The code isn't judging you, or the documentation or the template fix or whatever it is that you're bringing is not judging you. So find something that you care about, do the thing, and if it doesn't all go great first time, that's fine. That's how we learn. You can't improve until you begin. What is my favorite Git GUI client? I do not use a Git GUI client, partly for accessibility reasons. I'm a disabled user, so command line is where it's at. Also, by including the command line commands here, I hope that you can go and look that up for whichever tool you use, because it's probably all different ones. Who else is talking? Gaurav is asking, where do I find all the projects that are open for Hacktoberfest? And can I add my project to the fest? Yeah, sure. So you need to tag your project as Hacktoberfest as I think GitHub calls it a topic rather than a tag or a label if it's on the repo. So tag that. And if you check out the top link on this slide, which is the Hacktoberfest landing page, everything is linked to there. So go there and you can find out more. Awesome. So what else can I tell you about Hacktoberfest? If you have more questions, type now, and then I feel like we are close to wrapping up if you have run out of questions. Hacktoberfest for me has been good this year. I think like most projects, we had a bunch of not so great pull requests in the first few days. Now we are starting to see people opening really valuable pull requests. I am super pleased with some of the amazing commits and features that we've had so far, especially when they've come in on things that we've opened issues for. We know that we want to do it, we want to fix something, and we just haven't had time between us. I think that's been really, really valuable. And my team have been great at just helping people get things over the line or explaining what the last step is and stuff like that. So Hacktoberfest has been going well for us at Vonage so far, and I hope that a bunch of you are already off the mark. I hope more of you will be, and I will be around. You can find me on Discord or Twitter, I guess, and let me know how your Hacktoberfest is going. Yeah. Okay, well, with that, I think I am pretty much done. So I will just say thanks, everybody, for joining me, for keeping me company on this exciting journey that is Hacktoberfest. It's been lovely to hang out with you this afternoon, and I hope to see you around at other events or in chat or generally on the internet. Cheers.